Hello, I'm Shonda Scott, and this is Spotlight with Shonda, a very special Black designer episode on the influence that Black designers have had on the fashion industry. We are leading up to New York's Fashion Week with some of my favorite fashion influencers. And today our spotlight is on Sheila Gray, fashion PR guru, designer, and just an overall amazing person. Sheila Gray has designs that are unique and tell their own story. In fact, she styled me from events running from the White House to the television set. I'm excited to have her coming in from New York on this very special virtual Spotlight with Shonda to just tell us more about who she is, her product, her experience, and how Black designers have influenced the fashion industry. Sheila, thank you and welcome to Spotlight.
Thank you, Shonda. It's good to see you.
I'm happy that you're able to join us, and I just appreciate all that you're doing to make fashion so fabulous.
Thank you. Thank you. I feel the same way. I feel like we became family. It's like my sister now.
So what, can you tell us what influenced your fashion journey? Like what made you, young lady growing up in New York, decide that you wanted to go into the fashion industry and then actually start designing yourself?
Well, I actually was in a little small town. I came here from Culpeper, Virginia, and I was always inspired by, I would see like Essence magazine, and it was a small town, so we didn't have a lot of things, but Essence magazine, and truthfully, Byron's large Barbies actually inspired me as well, because I saw that and I thought, that looks like me. That has like my hair, that has like my skin color. And those kind of things influenced me a lot. TV influenced me a lot then. And then when I would look in the magazines and see, Eunice Johnson and them and all these African-American models and just things that I had not seen on TV or any reference of us or our hair, our skin or clothes or anything. And then, of course, designers like, Stephen Burrows. We didn't see a lot of African-American designers. It was only when you would look in Essence. So I would only see, I fell in love with Valentino because I didn't really know a lot about women like Elizabeth Keckley, who to me is really the first African-American designer. But you didn't read about that. You didn't hear about that. So you would see the other designers like a Valentino, and then that would inspire you because that's all you had.
But I think that's kind of interesting that we've had such an impact on the fashion industry and have been kind of invisible as far as, the industry embracing us. So, now that people are unapologetically celebrating Blackness and there's more emphasis on highlighting Black culture's influence in America, what do you think we could do, or what do you think can happen to ensure that now Black people in the history of Black designers and influence on fashion actually get celebrated more?
Well, I think it's like every other industry. I think, and I forget who said the quote, but there was a quote that said that they bring it to the table. I think just like we've done in movies, if you wanted Black movies, we got Black producers. So I think we have to get into a role where we're at the head of some things so that we get equally yoked into all these industries and to seeing this, because I have a friend, or we have a friend that works at Pratt Institute, and she told me one time, and it horrified me. She said, I asked my class today, can you name 5 African-American designers? Just 5. And they couldn't. So that tells me we're not in this industry. We're not in the game like we should be. And waiting on somebody else to bring you to the table, you may wait a long time. So I think we have to pave the way ourselves, and I think we have to bond together as African Americans ourselves, just like every other industry, and say, look, we're a group of Black designers. We want to move this forward, and we want to get in the positions where we're known, we're visible, and we see.
Yeah, and like you said, start intentionally celebrating and using us. Like I had an event at the White House, and it was a Black history event. So I'm like, I have to wear a Black designer. So of course Fire Lars. I wore something, because it's like and like Beyonce was designing for her video. And I saw this, and this is what all got me in the conversation about Black culture's influence on fashion, is that the film, The Remix on Netflix, it connects the dots on how hip hop influenced fashion. And I had not ever connected that dot. So that made me want to have a deeper conversation with you all, fashion influencers that are African American, that know this industry. Like, where else have we been having this influence that we have not been celebrated? And so part of that is that so in the video, in the film, The Remix, they talk about how Beyonce actually had one of the Black hip hop designers actually designed for her video, ape shit with her husband, Jay-Z. They designed that. So she intentionally got a stylist. She intentionally got a photographer. She intentionally did these things. So you can see not only our influence, but you could actually see us being celebrated in this industry that we've had such an impact on. So what do you think about that? How hip hop influenced it? Or do you see that connection in other areas in fashion?
I love hip hop. I do. And I think they have had influence, but I think that there are a lot of other designers that paved the way long before hip hop came. Like I said, there was Ann Lowe. There were so many other designers and women, Stephen Burrows, Patrick Kelly, Willie Smith. Nobody knows anything about them. And it's not, I'm not demeaning hip hop. Like I said, I love hip hop and I was all in the culture. I mean, that's how, when I was growing up. So I do know that it has had an influence, but I do know that there are a lot of African-American designers that had such an influence from day one, from Jackie O's wedding dress to Lincoln's wife's gown being done by Elizabeth Keckley. Like, that's the history they need to know. Like, they need to know it from the start. No, we didn't just start at hip hop. We started at the very beginning. We just didn't get the credit.
Absolutely. So now that's why we have to be intentional with our credit. So speaking of quotes, your fashion quote was, "Fashion is the armor to survive the reality of everyday life." So what does that mean to you? What does that quote, how do you embody it, and how have you embodied it, that survivorship, in your designs?
For me, I think it's what is basing like the stories that I tell, because I think that's really your armor in life, is the story that you have to tell. So I can't tell you that you don't look good in that, because that's your story. My story may be like, I believe, like my shirt says, diversity. It's diversity in your hair. It's diversity in the pair of pants you wear, or the jacket you mix with that pants, or if you have like 70 colors on. I think it's individualizes. It makes you who you are, and that's your armor and your shield in life. That's your armor and your shield, knowing who you are. You're uniquely you. I like my hair in braids, or I like my hair curly, or I like my hair straight, but that's a part of my story. That's what I am. This jacket, like, I love that. This is Byron as well, by the way. And I love that it's sheer, but I love that it's sheer, and I can put it with a T that I do, the same diversity makes you shine. And that's my story. No matter what I am, you're wearing what you are a lot of the time. What's in you comes out with what you style, where you style, how you style, and how you wear it. So I can wear it with confidence.
So like this jacket, this was a white jacket. And then I had it, Sheila gray eyes. And then, I don't know if you can see the back of it, but I was like, I have to have that on the back of a jacket. Hook me up. And so talk about your uniqueness of your designs and your style. What makes your Sheila Gray collection unique and different than anything?
I feel like it's because it comes from my heart. Actually, all this started with the t-shirts, and your jacket was in the midst of COVID. I just believe God just gives me ideas and things that inspire. And it felt like we were all so hopeless. And I was like, I can't deal with people being hopeless. And I was like, God, I just want to show love. And I started getting ideas that, like, you know what, maybe celebrate in like the things I would put on your jacket, or I had a jacket that just said faith. And like this says diversity makes you shine. And then I did one that was like just blessed and fearless. Just t-shirts that had images on them of people just up and upbeat wording on it, you know, just to inspire people, to show them like you're uniquely you. And at this time we may all be down, but celebrate life, celebrate, you know, like I was saying with the hair, your crown and glory. And then I would put little inspirational words and even little scripture quotes on it, and just, you know, to uplift people's spirits. And in the midst of it, I think this was one of the first ones I came up with, was standing on the word. So no matter how desperate it was getting, how many things were going wrong, I was like, nah, this is another way to pick you up. And then like reflections. Sometimes we need to look at the reflection of us, and that's us, whoever we are, and see who we really are. Because a lot of times we look and we see ourselves this way, but we're a queen, we're a king, you know, we're what we are. So, or just, I'm fierce and fab, just, you know, just something that people could put on in the midst of all of this when we were sitting at home. Yeah, I got a fab t-shirt on. So now it's like, if you're Zooming, just say something positive and you'd be surprised how much it picks you up and it uplifts you. So I think that's why this collection is unique, because I wanted to inspire people. And a lot of times we look at, you know, and granted, I know the world runs on money, and it does. But the thing is, we forget that out of all of this, the togetherness and the love and the unity and the caring, we forget those things. So if this can bring that back, then it's,
then you're doing your work, right? Well, I say you have anointed hands. And for those designers that are coming up, a young person that's interested in, what would be some words of wisdom that you would give them, and how to follow in their passion and make it a career?
That, you said the word, passion. You have to have passion for this, and you just can't give up. You know, I've learned never to be one-sided. Like when I first started, I was like, I'm gonna do evening wear, and that's all I'm gonna do. And then, as you mentioned, I'm PR, and I work with Byron too. So I went into this and I had a more open mind, and I started learning all different things, and God just started giving me ideas in every area. And so I went from just designing evening wear to doing PR, and then you know, learning to help with fabrics and design. And so I just think, you know, you need to have an open mind and be able to learn to do everything. A lot of times what we've done now with social media and everything is quick. I want to get there quick. But when you get there so quick, you don't learn the craft. And I think that's the greatest lesson I've learned here, and from Byron. I can't take credit for that, but from Byron, I've learn the craft, because in learning the craft, you learn everything about the business. Don't just learn the top of the business, learn it from the ground up, because then it's invaluable to you. And no matter what comes, you'll know how to reinvent yourself, because we all have to reinvent ourselves at times. So you'll learn how to reinvent.
Especially now, if you didn't know you had to reinvent yourself before COVID, you know now, because everybody had to pivot, right, and change just like overnight. So if you had one word to describe yourself, what would you say? Just in our closing comment, well, how would you just describe you? Determined. Maybe that's the best word. I just don't feel like I ever give up. So I think that's wonderful. And I'd say not just surviving, you're thriving. Well, thank you. So thank you, Sheila. Thank you for coming in from New York. Thank you for having me. And thank you for all you do to make us just be fabulous. Oh, well, that's my pleasure. And y'all make it easy. Come on. You look great in this stuff. And anything I style Shonda in, she looks good in. So well, I appreciate that. Because I say a lot, fashion makes you feel fabulous. That's why I love fashion. Because sometimes people are like, where are you going? I'm like, I'm going on a Zoom call. But I feel like dressing up for me. You know, I feel like putting something on for me. So that is what makes us all just love it. And like you said, it's your uniqueness. It tells your style. It tells your story. I've never been a follower of what was supposed to be in for fashion, because it always was like my creativity. Yeah.
And that's the thing. I was never like that. Even in a small town, it was so funny because people used to be like, "What are you doing?" And before they even had like all the hip hop stuff, I was drawing on jeans. I was doing off the wall stuff, and people were like, "Where'd you get that?" And I was like, "Can't have it. It's just mine." Like, so I always love stuff that looks different.
Well, yeah. And well, you're fabulous, and thank you. And we're
Thank
happy to have you as
you.
part of this wonderful series celebrating Black designers and our cultural influence on fashion, just in time for Fashion Week.